This video is a quick tutorial from Mars Flight VR to teach you how to fly the helicopter. I hope ultimately to put a tutorial in the game, but for now this video will be the best way to teach players. So you will need an Xbox controller or a similar USB gamepad to play the game. I'll be adding flight stick and VR controller support later on. The first thing you should learn is to press the pause button. The start button or the menu button on the controller will pause the game, and it will bring up the controls so you can view the controls. These are the default controls when the game is first installed. It's set to flight mode game, which is the easiest way to fly, and control preset A, which is similar to the way video games play. So I'll explain how these controls work. The helicopters primarily flow with the left joystick. If you push the left joystick up, the helicopter will tip and start to fly forward. And if you push the joystick back, it will tip back and go backwards. Tipping the joystick left and right will send the helicopter flying to the left or to the right. The helicopter will tend to turn around and face the direction it's traveling when you're in game mode, which makes it easier to see where you're going. It will hover on its own, and if you let go of the controls, it will stabilize itself. So if I push forward and let go of the controller, it will tip back on its own and it will hover. You can use the right joystick to change your altitude. So if I push the right joystick up, the altitude increases, and if I push it down, it decreases. Obviously don't come down too fast. If the rotors hit the ground, you'll break the helicopter. Lastly, you can use the triggers to turn. So if I pull the triggers, the helicopter will rotate. And this is an analog control, so if you pull it harder, the helicopter turns faster. If you pull it very gently, you can turn gently. So to start flying, push the left joystick up, the helicopter will start to go. If you keep it held up, it will accelerate and go faster. And then when you want to steer, just use the left joystick and push it left or right. Now you will find that it takes a long time to turn around. That's normal. If I try to turn by pushing the joystick left, you'll notice it takes a very long time to turn. It has a very large turn radius, and that's normal. If you want to turn more tightly, you can push backwards and left, which will slow the helicopter and turn it. So because the atmosphere on Mars is extremely thin, there's very little drag. Once the helicopter gets going at a high speed, it's difficult to turn. So if you want to have more control, try pushing the joystick gently instead of pushing it all the way to the edge. Then you'll be able to turn faster. While you're flying, you can still adjust your altitude with the right joystick. As I said before, it will automatically turn to face the direction it's flying when you're in game mode, but if you want to turn it more, you can still pull the triggers. If you fancy more of a challenge or more of a realistic flying physics, pause the game and switch to simulation mode. In simulation mode, the game doesn't assist you in any way. You have to hover it yourself. You can roll the helicopter over. It's a lot easier to crash. If you're familiar with radio-controlled helicopters, you might like to try control scheme C or D. These ones, instead of using the triggers to turn, use the joystick to turn. So give these a try if you'd like to fly like a radio-controlled helicopter. Okay, next I'll talk about the heads-up display, the different items that you can see. So on the left, the number on the left, which is currently at 1, that's 4, is your speed. That's the speed in meters per second. If you're traveling backwards, it will be negative. The number on the right, which is currently 4, is your altitude. If I go up, I can come up to 10 meters. And if I come down, you can see now I'm at 3 meters. When you get near the ground, there'll be a slight ground effect or a cushioning effect, which will tend to push the helicopter back up again. The number to the left of the altitude is your vertical speed. So if you're increasing your altitude, that will be positive, and if you're decreasing, that will be negative. And the line at the bar on the top gives you a visual representation of your vertical speed. The number to the left of 50% shows the collective. If I push the joystick up, it goes up to 100%, and if I pull the joystick down, it goes down to 0. So this shows you how much thrust you're applying. Typically to hover you need a little bit over 50% collected. The number up on the top is the compass. So if I turn around to north, it will say 0 degrees. There. And you can see the cardinals of the compass marked out. There's east. The chevron at the top of the compass leads to the rover. So if you get lost and you want to find the landing site where the rover is, follow that notch at the top of the compass. You see here's the rover. When you're in a race, that chevron will show you the direction to the next waypoint. Lastly, your heads-up display also shows your pitch and roll. So if I tip the helicopter forwards and backwards, you can see the pitch on the left. And if I roll it, you can see the roll value there. And one more thing you should notice on the head-up display is this green circle with the line coming from it. This is your velocity vector. So this is a three-dimensional representation of your speed. If you're traveling forwards, it will be in front of the helicopter. The longer the line is, the faster you're going. So this is a very useful device for steering. The dot shows you where you're headed, where you're going to be, and the longer the line is, the faster you are. If I slow down and start to fly backwards, the dot will travel behind the helicopter. Now next I'll show you how to activate a race. So you'll see these green circles dotted around the landscape. If you fly through one of these, it will commence a race. So this is race 1, difficulty easy. Once you fly in here, the leaderboard will come up and the start point will appear. And when you fly through the checkpoint, the clock will appear in the top left of the heads-up display. So once I fly through this, you'll see the clock has started. It's ticking the seconds away there. And your objective is simply to fly through the yellow checkpoint. If you miss one, you have to turn around and do it again. When you reach the end of the race, you'll see your position on the Steam leaderboards. That's basically it. There's a few races scattered around the map. There's some photography missions you can try as well. You can also just exit the races and hide the events if you want to just enjoy flying around Mars without any distractions. I hope you enjoyed the game. If you have any feedback, you can email me or post messages on the Steam forums. Thanks for watching.